lived in Barbados, and one of the things that he had a part in before he left is stopping quite a few of the beaches being privatised. These are the sort of things that our dad was a part of, and he volunteered and he got grants in his borough, so like funding for young people, so that they're not just going to be hanging on the streets, and then there'll be like youth things. So I think the fact that we didn't want to keep this to ourselves and we wanted to share it, I think that comes from that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's actually become part of our journey and helping us. We never knew what was going to happen. We just knew that this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now, like, we never knew that there's a community of grief people that share their stuff. Like, when we discovered that, we were like, Tanya, look, there's all these people that do this.
Yeah.
We're like, look at all of these people that do this, because when you're in it, you feel alone. You don't realise. And then we've become part of that, which was really nice. But then also, people share with us. Like, the first time that started happening, it was like, oh my goodness. People are sharing their stories with us, and we're building our own sort of community.
Well, and I have to tell you all, this so resonates with me, because, to be honest, and this is not, if someone's on here and I haven't realized it, I'm sorry. You all are the only page that I can think of that has talked about probate. Yeah. I remember the day, I think that you all had connected with Greg, and I remember seeing the Instagram, and I was like, wait a second, somebody else going through probate? Because I just hadn't stumbled upon it. So I thank you so much from me to you, because I felt seen in that moment, because it's not something that I necessarily talk about a lot on here, but it is so overwhelming, and it's something that not a lot of people appreciate. On top of it.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons when we were thinking about what can we call the blog.
Yep.
That's why we put that in there, and we say journey, because it's a journey of everything, the grief and the probate and just life. But we wanted that to be in there because we were going through it when we were doing it. So
so I get it. Y'all were sort of focusing on, like, this is a blog focused on grief and loss, and also the probate related to the loss, and then the fact that it's a journey. I love that. Okay.
Yeah, that's why we came up with the name of it, because we wanted to try and, give an idea of what we
didn't
doing.
really know. I mean, for me, I've come across it, like, because I've worked in a bank, so coming across it, I've come across the term probate and things like that, but that's one thing. But when you have to actually go through it and not even understand, because it's hard to understand, but when you have to go through it yourself, it's something else.
And there's so many elements of it, There's so many elements,
different branches. It's
like probate is like the thing, and then the umbrella, and then there's all of these things
that come with it. Logistical. Yeah. I think the thing that has been the most frustrating, disheartening, and overwhelming about the probate journey for my family is the waiting. Oh my God! It's almost like so maddening to think about how long it takes for a sheet of paper to make it from point A to B. I mean, my God, that has been torturous almost. Just sitting by the phone, waiting to get information and not getting it for so long.
Yeah, and then for all the things that you have to go through to be able to get to that process, and then it's just a long wait, like you say, a long waiting game. It's just,
for us, the process took as long as it did, because a lot of the time we were waiting on people, but then when it was in reverse and they wanted something, they're calling, they're emailing, it's like you don't get a minute. But then you have to sit and wait for 2 weeks, and that's okay. So these are the reasons why it felt like we were making complaints all the time, but it was like, we didn't feel like we were getting any respect. And for us, something that we found quite shocking is that organisations that are working with grief and deal with that, they speak to you like, they don't speak to you as if that's their line of work. They don't speak to you with empathy. They just talk to you like you're a number. They don't understand that you're going through something, so you might not be thinking straight when you're talking to them. So this was a lot of the things that we found so hard to comprehend. It's like, okay, if you're talking to someone that grief is not what they deal with, or loss, or illness, fair enough. But when it's your profession, that's not good enough. Why is that okay?
Yeah, you
And
have
then
an
they say that we
expectation
get those 2 ways, but
Yeah.
we
You
weren't
have-
getting that.
you have an expectation that people are looking at it from a holistic way. And unfortunately,
Yes.
that's one of the reasons, like your page and other pages, mine, to elevate this conversation about grief and loss, because there's so much misinformation and lack of information here.
Exactly.
So I want to read this one comment. Someone saying this is why you would get a will done to avoid the madness. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I'm watching this.
Yeah.
If you're watching this and you have not gone through probate, please listen to Tanya, Tara, and I, and anyone else in your world to say, please do your due diligence to prepare. And this is going to sound, I don't mean for this to sound like a judgment at all, but I will say that part of the love that you have towards the other person in your family and friends is to ensure that they can cope with your death in the most reasonable way possible. And we already know that's hard.
Yeah.
Please don't add additional stress by keeping all of your affairs out of order. It is so overwhelming to the surviving family members. Do what you can, even if it's a basic will. It doesn't have to be too complicated. Get the will, go to freewill.com or an organization in your country, fill it out, get it notarized, submit that, and you're done. You can rest assured that your wishes will be granted upon your death. But to not do that is problematic. So, yeah. So, okay, someone is saying check Going with Grace. Okay, yeah, so Going with Grace, at Going with Grace is another Instagram page here. And so we're getting some information that she's a death doula and has information about probate in the USA. Okay. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's different.
It depends on the country, yes. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure, if you're watching this, I know that you are loving this conversation. It's such an important one. Do you have any questions? What questions do you have for Tanya and Tara about their journey, about probate as a whole, knowing that they're not legal professionals, but based upon their experience, please feel free to be part of the conversation. All right, so Greg is saying people should also connect with the grave woman. She talks about this all the time. It's such important information. Yes. Wonderful resources on here. To make sure you're armed with information. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, so what questions do y'all have for Tanya and Tara? And then I want to also talk about, while people are thinking, how have you all, what have you noticed in your relationship? And I know this is sort of a personal question, but my brothers and I, we've waxed and waned, right? We started off sort of like understanding everyone, thinking the same. Then we're all processing grief differently, which was frustrating to all of us. Yeah. How have you all continued to, remain bonded and connected and, working on your relationship in the midst of all this? I love how, Tara's like, what do I obviously y'all are on the live together, so that's a sign. That's a great sign.
It's I think because in the way that we were just, everything you're thrown into everything, and it's just us, really. It's just myself and Tara that had to deal with everything. And so I'm not going to say it wasn't stressful and we wouldn't have our times of getting a bit frustrated. And I think we both process things in almost the same way, but there's a difference in the sense that when my dad was in hospital, because I just had my youngest son, I couldn't be there as much. And I always used to see my dad like every couple days, every week. I used to see my dad. I used to go down there nearly every day. And that was sort of taken away. So for me, it was a bit different to Tara because she had to be in there all the time.
Every day, yeah.
And so, so in that sense, we have a bit of a difference in the way.
Yeah.
But I think, for me as well, because that it felt like it's us against everybody, because that we were feeling like they were just trying to break us. You're trying to break us down, and you're not listening. You're not, you're trying to make us feel like nothing. So we had to stand together to fight against everybody. And I think that's what it was, because it's like the more they did that, it's like, no, we're coming back. You're not. This is not acceptable. So I think that's what it was.
I think, and I think because we were together all the time now, having to go through all of this, it kind of brought us closer in a sense as well. I mean, we've always been close, but we had to,
because it was an everyday thing. Literally every single day.
No,
7 days a week, but you get no time off.
No, I can absolutely resonate with that. I know, again, like my brothers and I process things differently, so there were obviously moments that it was tough to communicate well. But I like you, have bonded so deeply with my brothers, partly because like we're on the doggone phone multiple times a week talking about business, which not that we weren't talking before, but I mean, I definitely talk to my brothers much more often now, and we do a much better job checking in, because we know we're all stressed out dealing with all the real stuff.
Exactly. Definitely, I think that does make
I'm glad it's brought y'all together.
Yeah, it definitely does. You have to, in a sense, because it's just you dealing with everything, and when one is up, one is down. We try to balance that, and
so good. Y'all are incredible, just incredible human beings. And I appreciate you being vulnerable. I know when we talked about doing the live, there's a little bit of angst because it's a sensitive topic and it's so complicated. So I just want to acknowledge that your authenticity in the moment. So someone's asking a question. When your dad passed, what was the first legal thing you had to deal with?
Okay, so literally within less than 24 hours, when we were told that we should apply for the death certificate, we were told, the case has been moved to the coroner for investigation. Like, what does that mean? So that was the first. So that's where we feel like we were thrown straight. That's what I said, less than 24 hours. So we left the hospital at midnight, and it's like maybe 8, 9 o'clock the next morning, and this is what we're being told. So straight away, we now have to find out, why has it been passed to the coroner for investigation? Because and then what we were told, the family requested it because of concerns that they had. How could we have requested that in that short space of time? So it spiraled, literally everything spiraled from there. And this is just something else that we don't really speak much about the complaint that we've got about the hospital, because it's ongoing. So, that's something that but we know that it's got a lot to do with the way that we feel, because it was a 7-month experience, but it's what we experienced as a family as well. And it should have never been about us, because it was our dad that was in the hospital bed, not us. So when he was in hospital, there's a thing called PALS, Patient and Liaison Service. So we took our concerns to them. But then our dad was like, I don't want you to make any more complaints. So it stopped from there, because he's the one in the hospital bed, and he didn't want us to do that because of how he was being treated. But when that happened about the coroner, we was like, that's it now. Everything of the 7 months, we're like, we've had enough.
You've had enough.
Is absolutely ridiculous. We've been treated like just so rubbish, and so is our dad. He's not here anymore. We're making a complaint, and that's where the complaint came from.
Which I'm sitting here thinking about just the stamina and the energy it requires to grieve by itself. And I can only imagine, like, within that 8-hour period, like, emotionally, right? Your emotions are just surging with the death of your dad, and then having to sort of like raise up all that energy and have to direct it towards something that is completely out of your control, and just something that you didn't ask for, and confusing. It's very taxing on the mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Oh no, you said someone saying something.
Oh, no, I was just commenting. Someone saying I can only rely on myself, for I have no family to help. So I appreciate these communities. Yeah. And, we're glad that you're here. Part of the reason that I know it was important for Tanya and Tara to sort of share their story was to help people realize you're not alone, right? Even though we're all around the world in this Instagram community, this is a great space to know there are people who get it, who've walked a similar journey. And I know without even asking them that they're comfortable with you reaching out so that you don't feel like you've got to navigate this all by yourself. Yeah. You're getting a lot of hearts and love. Full respect for you ladies and so much more. I'm actually, I was going to send some hearts, but I can't do it on the screen. But yeah, so much love for y'all for being so honest and raw about the conversation. So what is it that others can do to help support you? Obviously, y'all are on Instagram. You have a blog. Tell us more about other things that you may be doing and how we can best support you.
Well,
I love y'all as sisters. Y'all are just like, look, it's so much love. It's so much respect between the two of you.
Oh, you're going to think something. I think the things that we're trying to do.
I think for us, we just would like to obviously things take time, but just to become more established, because everything that we're doing is in honor of our dad. If he's not here, and so everything that we're doing, we just want to try and make him proud. So if we could become more established to help more people, that would be brilliant. That's something. Yeah. That's something.
Someone saying that they sent you some questions. So good for whoever said that. Send the questions. They're going to answer it. So here's a way related to what you're saying about sort of just gaining awareness about what you're doing. If you're watching this live or on the replay, it will take 0.2 seconds to literally click and follow at grief_probate_journey. It's that easy. If you don't know if you don't want to type all that in, just go to my page and I've tagged them already. Click on it and like them. That's a way they can help become more known in the community, because this is such an important conversation. And without me even having taken a poll, I know there are so many people like us who feel like you're the only one dealing with this, because no one talks about this.
Exactly. And that's it.
And that's another thing as well. Another reason why we started our blog is because sometimes we would be out and, you'd be so many things going on, and you might start talking and you're talking for too long, and I started feeling like this is not appropriate. It's not appropriate to be talking about these things. Have it somewhere so you can say, we have this, and direct people to it so it's their choice. Don't want to ever put things onto people, because life is all about choice. So that's why we're happy that we have that, because we've discovered so many things that we didn't even know about, and things that would have been helpful for us at the time. It makes us feel a bit sad, but then it's like, you know what? This can help someone else.
Someone else. Yeah. Well, I mean, and think about it. Like, the legal system is so God. It's funny. I'll throw a funny story out here. Back in the day, as I was working on my master's in psychology, I applied to law school. Right, got in, and for whatever reason, I didn't do it. And thank God. I'm so glad that didn't work out. Partly because it's so complicated. And for my logical, linear mind, I would be frustrated as a lawyer, because the way the system is set up, it doesn't make sense. And in some way, it feels like for innocent family members that you're the ones being prosecuted in the midst of things that are so out of your control. So thank God. Thank you, Lord, for not allowing that to work out. So you're getting a hi from somebody's from Virginia. Thank y'all for joining in. And I think this is actually, one of the largest circles that we've had in here. So clearly people want information. Yeah. So they sent me a question. Okay. Thank you for sending that question, Melly. And then I will look at that after the live. And if it's something I can answer, I will. If it's not, I'm going to punt it over to Tanya and Tara to answer about their experience. All right. So go like their page. And also, again, we have a few more moments. If you have any questions for them or want to hear a little bit more about their journey, please type that in the comments. And by the way, send them some hearts. Please do that. It takes so much courage to get on here and share a personal story, knowing that this lives and breathes in the Instagram world. So please let them know how much they are appreciated by sending them some hearts and likes. That would be lovely.
do you know, it's like I've been feeling like so nervous all day, like, oh my goodness, but now I feel relaxed, and so, you know, and I'm happy that it happened, because, you know, these are things we have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are things to do to help us to grow more. So, and it's good for us as well. So, you know, that's why we really appreciate this opportunity, and we're glad that, you know, that this has happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad. This is a one of a kind conversation. I've not had this specific conversation, especially with someone walking through it, right? Like there's information, and then there's experience. And what I wanted to sort of get across today was for people to really hear your heart and realize the angst that happens on the back end when things are not as prepared as we would like. So get your stuff in order. I don't really swear, but if I did, that's something else. Get your stuff in order. So one thing, thank you for sharing. This has been really good. Things I can talk to my partner about. He finds the whole will chat morbid. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's say that you are a person who's like, I don't want to talk about death, or your partner or friend, family member doesn't want to talk about it. What recommendations do y'all have to help encourage the person to sort of go there?
I know that's a tough one. Yeah, it is a bit. I think, it's like, I don't want to sound hypocritical, because I know that me, myself, like I said, how we were before, we didn't want to have anything. We didn't want to know anything about it. But because of our experience, all we can do is just share that, and to say that it's so important. It is so important to get these things sorted out. It's not something that is always comfortable talking about or being able to go through, but it's something that is needed, and it's something that you need to have a discussion about, because if you know, God forbid, however things go, you just don't know, and you need to have that information, and you need to be able to know what is set out, how things are, you know, where things are, as you said.
So I think it's just, it would be a thing of, you know, you give your experience and what's happened. So it's like, you know, well, maybe I would be like, based on my experience, I would advise that this is what you should do. So, you know, you can only advise people, and whether they take it on or not, because as we said, life is all about choice. But I would, you know, be just open and honest about what happened to us, to me, and then that's how I would spin it to say, you know, this is what I think that you should do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a friend that was very adamant about not talking about death or anything. So his wife, this was really cool, I thought, on her part. She, of course, kept encouraging him to do it. But the way that she sort of helped him get there was they had homeowners insurance, right? And with your homeowners insurance, one of the things that can be really helpful to the insurance company if you have a claim is if you've sort of taken stock of everything in your house. All of your material belongings and so forth. And so she helped her husband sort of go through the house and take these pictures of all this stuff, put a price tag on it. And then that sort of led into this conversation about belongings and desire. And I was like, that's really good. That's a good so maybe take the insurance route, right? Get the information from the insurance company. And on the back end, tag along with the conversation.
So sort of ease into it a little bit, make it a bit more, different.
Because that's the thing as well. Even for us, when we started this, as we said, we didn't know how it was going to go, and we feel like, oh my gosh, grief is like, you know, taboo, and it's like morbid, and, you know, will people really, you know, look at it, and how far is this going to go? But then at the same time, it's like the more things that we learn and we're able to share, and how it's being received now, even though we still have doubts some days, we're happy that we've done this. And this is the thing, we've put that disclaimer, we're not medical experts. This is your own experience. But because of our experience, we look for internet examples to further help, because we know that there's we're limited to what we can speak about. But every single topic that we have on our blog, it's because of something that we've experienced. So, we talk about medical conditions because our dad's infective endocarditis. Who had ever heard of that? We hadn't heard of that. And that's a life-threatening heart condition that starts from your gums. These are things that, so because of that, this is why we have medical things on there, Rare Disease Day and health and well-being and mental health, because, we don't know what our dad was going through. He was an independent man his whole entire life. Yeah. The 7 months he was in the hospital, that's the most he'd ever been outside of his house, ever. And he's gone into a hospital. Yeah, he'd never been into hospital. So, he's gone into hospital, he's lost his sight, he's become bedbound, all of these things. But my dad and my mom, they're really religious, and it's like the things that he would come out with, it really humbled me, because one day when I was in there, he was like, I guess, I can't remember his exact words, but what he was saying is that this could have happened to him in reverse. He could have been born blind. He could have been born not able to walk, but he'd had his whole life with sight and mobility. And when he said that, I was just like, wow. I was kind of lost for words. I didn't know what to say. Wow. Because, I don't know how I would feel in a situation like that. But yeah, that's the kind of
that just speaks to your dad's spirit. And he sounds like an amazing, amazing human being. What was your dad's name, by the way? I'm sorry I didn't ask at the beginning.
Arnold.
Okay. Yeah. Arnold sounds amazing. Yeah, I don't think I would have had that perspective, to be honest. I probably